And let me go ahead and share. You guys let me know if you can see anything.
Well, yes, oh yes, there's a huge screen come up.
Yeah, and so I guess, what is my mouse over here? Okay, October the 15th. So as usual, let's get started with a prayer, and the intent is really, again, to ask our mentors, our guides, the guides of this group, to be here with us, to help us in clarifying and helping us to understand and better grasp the knowledge and the experience that we are about to share. So, dear brother Jesus, as we gather here today to learn from these spirit teachings, from your loving message, and from each other life experience, we ask you please to come beside us now, lead us on our study today, on the days ahead of us, and through the time when our mind cannot cope. Help us to find peace and calming inner thoughts. You hold us safe, and please do the same for this group, for our mentors here with us today, for our family members, our houses, relatives, and all of those crossing our mind right now, as well as those in need. Amen. And so be it. All right.
And so it is.
So it is. Yeah. So talking about the mechanics of mediumship, we did finalize all the topics for the program 1 on October the 1st. October the 22 is still available. So I did discuss that with Louise, Livia, Josephine, Maria. So I guess what we are going to do on October the 22nd is just like a free talking, just talking about the main, topics or questions or comments, anything that we want to discuss based on the topics that we covered in the past meetings. And then November 11, 12, and the 13th is going to be the sessions here in Houston. I did talk to you about the November the 15th, the 5th is going to be this time for renewal event, healing for renewal. It's going to be in person, but there will be some information on it if you want to participate online. So let me know, and I'm going to share the information about this. And the last time, in the past Saturday, I guess, we stopped by the question 738. Is that correct? Because 738 is kind of long question. It has A and B. So I thought we just read the 738 and we didn't cover the A and B. The 738, the question is, could God improve humankind by using methods other than destructive scourges? And the answer, yes, and God uses them every day. The Creator has given each of you the means of progressing through the knowledge of good and iniquity, because humans profit so little by those other means. It is necessary to wound their pride and to make them feel their weakness. With that, let me go ahead and there you go. Yeah. So then the question 738A is, good people fall victim to these scourges as just as much as bad people do? Is it fair? So does anyone want to comment or add anything to it? Oops, sorry. Where is
Oh,
my...
Hyacinth beat me to it. Hyacinth, off you go.
No,
Okay,
it's
hi.
just that the sun shines on the good and the bad, and the rain falls on the good and the bad.
Yes, but it falls more upon the bad because the more upon the good because the bad steal their umbrellas. Come on, that's an old one. The rain it raineth every
Oops.
day upon I can't remember whom, the good and bad folks together, but more upon the good because the bad steal their umbrellas. That's the English story. Now, I wanted to remark about this that the this is were written in the 1850s, and the idea that there's a guy with a white beard and a big tummy sitting up in the sky, watching everything and controlling everything, is little more than crazy. And that's 150 years ago. So I believe that these natural destructive calamities are simply the earth doing business. The tide comes in, and if you happen to be standing on the beach holding a big rock, you drown. That's nothing to do with God. If you get into a fight with mafiosi over drugs and they shoot everybody in sight and burn the village down, that's nothing to do with God. That's personal. And if you're around when a calamity happens, that's personal. That's your own bad luck. Or rather your own fate as determined by your karma, because we've denied the presence of luck, which I find quite extraordinary, but because I have such good luck, and I have no idea what I've done to deserve it, if it's karma. Anyway, that's a kind of an off-the-cuff opinion, and time for Len.
Well, there's a lot of issues here. First of all, the image of Father God, Mother God, they can take on many forms. There's all kinds of validation, volumes and volumes in the literature that has been independently validated, that their forms, they determine what forms they want to take on. So this whole idea of the old man in the sky with the beard and the pot belly, that's all just man-made fantasy. But Giles is right. We live in the toughest school in the universe. We came here, it was our decision to incarnate here. We get mental challenges, physical challenges. We have free will, which is a very important axiom in the universe, but also there's randomness in the universe, that things can happen that are out of control from the other side. So all this is well validated in the literature. That's all I think I have to say on that point.
Thank you, Len. So, Amy,
Annie.
I guess you have your little hand.
I don't know how to change the color of my hand back to yellow. Are we still on the one about being fair or not?
Yes, exactly.
Sorry, I came in a little bit late.
Well, it said, no, it's Annie, let me tell you, could God employ other methods than destructive calamities for effecting amelioration of mankind? Well, that's what my version says. It's very slightly different in the one on the screen, which is small. I can't.
So we're not still on the question about life being fair or not?
Yeah, this is the question is, good people fall victim to these scourges just as much as bad people do. Is it fair?
Okay. I was thinking about this week, I was thinking about how I was thinking about like the word fair, and I think the word fair brings into it brings emotions into the whole thing. So what I thought was, if instead, if you realize that, because when people say life isn't fair, what they're really saying is life isn't predictable, and it's not. But if you say life is not predictable, then it doesn't bring up any emotions. If you say it's not fair, then it seems to bring up emotions. I don't know if that makes any sense, but sometimes words bring up different things. And yeah, that was all I wanted to say. And
Yeah.
hi, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, I really like your point. I do believe as well that emotions, yeah, it brings a lot of things. Yeah, for sure. Thank you. Hi, Saint, do you have your hand
Yes,
raised?
it's well, one is just a little first. I never heard of the man in the sky having a pot belly. That was new for me. But also I think that things happen, and it's we say that God is punishing, when I have come to believe that this is he's not punishing. We are choosing things, and we get the result of the choice we have made.
Free will. Free
Yeah,
will.
agree.
Yeah, absolutely right. I totally agree.
Yeah, agree. Thank you, Leda.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Well, there's so much I want to say about this because I've wondered about it a lot. So the first question in this book is about God, and the spirits say that he is the source of everything. He's the power behind everything, and that he is immaterial. So this idea of a man sitting in a throne or something is absolutely human, like Len said, right? God is immaterial, but he is fair, he is good, and he just wants to teach us things. And like Hyacinth said, it's the result of our choices. And sometimes the result of our choices, the spirits say, that it doesn't come immediately, because sometimes we want to understand, we want to be able to take profit of the consequences immediately. So sometimes the spirits wait until we can understand, until we can bear the consequences, until we can. So sometimes a bad spirit goes on doing bad things for some time, and then only when he or she regrets it and is ready to move on and to start doing good, that's sometimes when the consequences come. So I had a disabled daughter, and I was very upset when I found out that this was going to happen to me. And the spirits, they showed us, they gave us a message saying that sometimes things happen when we are ready for them. So maybe in the past, when we did what we did in past lives, past incarnations, if we had them right away, we wouldn't be able to do it right. And now that we are more aware, more responsible, then we are adults, and now we can face more responsibility. So that's the message that came to us. And I think it has everything to do with what the spirits say in this spirits book. Sorry, I took too long, sorry.
Thank you, Leda, for sharing that. And let me add that a little bit to it. It is very nice that you have that kind of message. It's kind of reassuring you something that you probably knew, right? And because so many others, think about the parents who has the same who have the same experience in this passing the same experience, but do not have that kind of reassuring message like you do, right? And again, it's a matter of, are you ready to know that? Are you ready for that experience? And have you learned your lessons to the point that you are now capable of understanding whenever a message like this comes to you? Yeah, thank you. Len?
2 quick points. First of all, as Hyacinth talks about choice, that's the axiom in the universe of free will. We are all subject to the consequences of our choices. The second thing is, the main focus is, I look at it as a tree. The trunk of the tree, the main part of the tree, is our life charts, our lessons that we must learn here in incarnations. All the branches of the tree is the randomness that will occur with the trials and tribulations and challenges. But we always got to keep focused on our lessons that in our life charts, that why we're here is for our lessons, and the spirit world will help us. Yes, but there's always randomness that we have to accept in this universe. That's
exactly. Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Una?
I don't really have an answer on this, but I do have a question. So in relation to fairness and scourges and things, how good people and bad people get caught up with it? So say take the flood event that's discussed in the Bible, or that comes into the Bible, or, you know, catastrophic tidal waves and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have an answer on it, but how does that fit in with scourges and good and bad? Everybody gets caught up in that.
Very nice that you asked that, because exactly this week I was reading a book, and the book was saying something that reminded me what my mother used to say to me, and there's something so many years ago, and it is still a very known saying in Brazil, and probably Leda and Josie, Vladimir will remember that. So they say in Brazil that God writes right, but using a random pathway or kind of tortuous lines. I do not know how to translate that, and perhaps there is something equivalent in English, but it is like God has a plan, and we will never know what that plan is, but one thing is for sure: we cannot compare God's planning to human planning. When we do planning, we do not know everything. We do not know all the outcomes or potential consequences out of our own decisions. So our making decision process is somewhat limited, because we can foresee up to a certain limit. We do not see the whole scheme of things.
Yeah.
So, but God does, and more than that, I think most important, God includes or did include, I don't know, in his or her plan. It's so difficult, because we still can we think in God about he or she, and it's not even that. So, but anyway, we do not even have words for that. But anyway, so when God had the plan together, he or she also included something very important. It is our imperfection. So whenever something is planned, one of the things that we need to keep in mind is God knows about our ability to do wrong things, to not follow his plan. And as such, he will have, he or she will have means to get things back on track. It's not that God needs the scourges to happen for us to learn, but as it did happen, then he will try the best to teach us something so we can learn from it. Bad things, or say floodings and earthquakes, it happens because that's the nature of things and will continue to happen. We live in this planet. We know this planet is dynamic and is a system by itself. It didn't stop the process of whatever is going on with the planet. It will continue on, and that's nature. That's law of nature. It will continue to happen. But as happens to us and make and causes bad things like a lot of people dying, etc. Evidently, God doesn't need that for us to learn. But as it did happen, then he will try the best for to say profit from it, so we can learn our lessons or learn something from it. Same way, things like war is a man thing, right? It's caused by men. It's not nature. It's caused by our decision-making process, not really following God's will. But as it does happen, then God for sure had already foreseen that this was one of the possibilities, and evidently he or she will have the right plan to put together to get things back on track. That's the difference between God's planning and human planning. God's know we are imperfect, and because of our imperfection, he has that imperfection already in his equation, and he has a means to fix that, but we don't. So we are just bouncing from one consequence to another. Leda, please.
When you said about evolving, we are evolving spirits because we are created simple and ignorant. And when Allan said about random things that happen to everybody, this is the process of God teaching us how to grow, how to be smarter, and to take care of what we need to learn. So this is called proof. He's putting us in tests for us to grow. So these are the random things, but also besides the random things that everybody has to face, like work, like health, everything, we have our particular issues that are treated because of the law of cause and consequence. Right. So these are our particular challenges for each one of us. So we have to understand what's the difference between something that is our problem specifically and something that is that everybody else has to face in order to grow, to evolve as spirits who are learning.
Yeah. Thank you, Leda. Thank you. Len, please.
2 quick comments. I think the famous saying by one of the Beatles was, as we're planning our lives, life happens.
Yes.
And the second thing, it's right. I think that's pretty much it. As we're planning our lives, life happens. I think it was John Lennon. But anyway, the second thing is I've always found when we have suffer all these various trials and tribulations, and no one escapes them.
Mhm.
I've always found love, the power of love, focuses me back to what is important.
Exactly.
The power of love, turning to love, focuses me back to what is truly important
Mhm.
and puts
Yes.
things in proper perspective.
Yep. Yeah. That very well said. I would say love and compassion is the answer for everything. Yeah. Thank you. Hyacinth.
So two things. One is I remember there's a question in time of Jesus where this man was born blind, and people asked him, whose fault was it? Whose sin was it? The parents or the man?
Mm,
And Jesus said, neither.
neither. Yeah.
It was to teach you to have compassion.
Exactly.
So that blind man was used, he was a tool to show people.
Mhm.
So this is happening all the time. And the other thing was, oh, I don't remember what that was now, but it was a situation, yes, challenges arise all the time. How do we respond? How do we deal with it?
Mhm.
Do we do completely negative and, you know, end it all, or do we blame somebody, or do we go through the challenge
Mhm. Yep.
so that, and it's making us stronger?
Exactly. And it is a process. It will not happen. That learning process will not happen just in a single experience, right? It's gonna be, we'll need more and more experiences, and the more we learn, then it's gonna be like more and more intense. Or I was telling my son who lost his fiance in a car accident, and I was telling him exactly that, as he was living or passing through that experience, to still try to keep, a better attitude in regards to everything, all the difficulties. It's not because that thing happened to him, it was okay, so only bad things gonna happen to me, or I do not deserve to be happy, or I am a bad person, so nothing good is gonna happen to me. So that was the kind of mode he was on, and I was trying to tell him, no, you never know what would happen if she didn't die. That was her experience, that was her journey, and may not have anything to you except that, when things like this happen, is not your fault. So just have faith that only good thing is going to happen to you. And when things like this happen, you lose somebody, well, it was that person's journey, so you should be happy that you have the time to share, good experiences with that person while that person was still here with us.
He showed her love.
Exactly. And it is so interesting. I remember when Leda was talking about her experience, I remember a couple that I met in my city in Brazil, and I remember when they were expecting their first child, everybody was so happy. It was the first child in the family, first grandkid for both parents, and then after the 9th month, they didn't want to. They did all the tests, etc. But no, not after the 9 months. But when she was, I think the pregnancy was 5 months, something like this. Then they found out that the baby had Down syndrome. So it was a huge shock to the family. The first child, first grandkid for everybody. It was a huge shock. Shocking, breaking news, really. And but they had their time to get used to. Yeah, I got emotional because it was something amazing. It was an amazing story. They had their time to adjust to that idea. And as they were not spiritualistic type of people. They were Catholic. But at some point they got a message from the spirit saying, you know, after the baby was born and the baby was received with a lot of happiness, despite the problem, despite what happened to them, the baby was very welcomed. Everybody was loving that baby so much. So it was like any other baby. So the family got, you know, the first shocking news, but then they got the time to get used to the idea, to learn how to live in that situation, how to promote a healthy life to the baby. And so once the baby came, everybody was happy and everybody was very well adjusted to that situation. And 2 years after, they got a message from a friend who was actually a medium. And the message was that the baby was actually an elevated spirit, a higher spirit that came to the family exactly to teach them how to love unconditionally. So, and the family did correspond well to that lesson. So it was very nice. Okay, so any other comment on the question A? 738A? No comment or question. So the answer is, so the question was, did people fall victim to these scourges just as much as bad people do? Is it fair? And the answer, on earth, human beings measure everything against their physical lives. After death, they see things differently and feel that the physical life is nothing. I guess it goes exactly like Lida was saying. A century in your world is but a flash in eternity. Therefore, the suffering of days, months, or even years on earth are of no significance and are only a lesson that will serve in your future. Spirits are the real world, pre-existing to and surviving everything else. They are God's children and the focus of all divine concern. Bodies are only the outer shells under which they appear in the physical world. When great scourges decimate the human race, the victims are like an army whose clothing is torn, worn out, or lost in battle. A general cares more about his soldiers than their coats. Any comment? It's awesome, isn't it? And the question 738B, but the victims of these calamities are victims nonetheless. So the answer, if you viewed life on earth for what it is, if you viewed life on earth for what it truly is, and as being so small in comparison to infinity, you would attach much less importance to it. These victims will find significant compensation for their pain in another existence if they bear their suffering with resignation. I guess that's what I was trying to tell my son, you know, have faith, believe that good things will happen to you despite all the bad experiences, but have faith. And then a comment from Allan Kardec says, whether death is the result of a public disaster or results from an ordinary cause, we are forced to go when the hour of our departure has come. The only difference is that more such departures occur at the same time in the event of a public disaster. If we could elevate ourselves to contemplate the human race as a whole, the calamities that seem so terrible now would be reduced to passing storms in the destiny of the world. I read a book about calamities and natural disasters, and what was the view or the point of view from the spiritual world, and it was very interesting. It is, I don't think that book has been translated, but the book was written upon a disaster, a storm that happened in Haiti. Haiti, I think that's the Haiti island, the from
Haiti.
Haiti.
Yeah, Haiti. And the situation was that storm happened, and yeah, a lot of people died, and the spirit, this guy was telling his experience when he was invited to participate in this how can I say, I can't remember the word now, but you know, when a disaster comes and then you go as a team to collect people, to help people out, and they were doing the same, except that they were doing from the spiritual, you know, they're helping the spirits. And then this guy, he was kind of describing all the things that he could see, all the actions that were taking place, several different teams helping, you know, several spirits. And then he was describing all the situations, people that was kind of resignated, people that didn't know what was going on. So they were helping all these kind of different situations. And then he described what he could see from the point of when he saw this army. It was a group of Brazilian guys going there to help, and why those guys were selected to go there and help the country, help the survivors, etc. So he said that group, that specific group, was selected to go and help with the survivors because one, the group, they had a good notion of not a spiritualism, but, you know, like Len was talking about, love, compassion. So they had some good notions about that, you know, not religious, but, you know, something associated with that topic. And more important was that the guides of those guys, the spiritual guides, they were also very important as they were there helping the survivors. So when we think about folks going to a place to help survivors, and in this situation, we just think about the human being going there, but we forget about the guides, the mentors of those folks also going there to be of a good help. Hyacinth, please.
Yes, I remembered many years ago, there was a ferry disaster between Sweden and Estonia. The ferry was a ferry disaster. 852 people died. There was one young man who was part of a Pentecostal group of students who were taking that trip. And he was the only one of the group to survive.
Wow.
And everybody, of course, was, why did God do this? And God was terrible. Why did he let this? Why didn't he save them? And so on. And so they asked this young man what he thought about it and what did God do? And he said, this had nothing to do with God. This was a man-made error because the captain didn't pull up the drawbridge, that you close it after the cars have drove on. And that's what happened. He said, that has nothing, that was man-made error. And he said, why I survived, I have no idea. The only thing I can do is devote the rest of my life to helping people.
Yeah, very good story. Thank you for sharing, Hyacinth. Lynn, please.
Yeah, I remember that, Hyacinth, that the journeyman basically forgot to close windows or valves or whatever it was.
It's a bridge that shows the cars drive on. Yeah,
man-made error.
Yes,
and it had nothing to do with God, and all those people drowned.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that. That was an interesting event. There's several things here, Anna. I mean, the other side is the greater reality. This is the reality, but the other side is the greater reality. It's always in the literature. We are in a play. We're actors and actresses in a play. And when we learn our lessons, all of us go home, the curtain comes down, and that's it. So this is just to learn our lessons.
Yep.
As far as time, and you're right, time over there, an instant there, well, we have linear time there. There is no time. So you have eternity. So time is not relative to your trials and tribulations. And people always say when they have these tragedies, I spent my life at a children's hospital. I've witnessed enough tragedies for 10 lifetimes, but they always say, why me, etc. And we forget that the spirit world helps us as much as they can within reason. Then it's on our own where all our soul attributes come into play. So this is just simply some of the comments I wanted to make. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, Lynn. All right, so let's go to the next. Okay, so 739, are destructive plagues physically useful despite the evils prompted by them? I guess Hyacinth just mentioned one of them. Not plagues, but events. Are destructive plagues physically useful despite the evils prompted by them? So I guess we just lived one, right? COVID-19. We are survivors.
The hurricane in Florida too, Ian, the hurricane in Florida, Ian.
Yes, exactly.
That just happened. Look what happened to Florida.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention at this point that Ian was headed due north, straight for us, gaining strength. And then the miracle happened.
Now, where are you, Giles?
It disappeared. I'm just above Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh,
Wilmington's
nice
on
area.
the
Oh,
coast.
okay.
Very nice area. Right on the
Yeah,
coast.
well, when it's not hurricane season, Anyway, we've been through a few of them before, so this was no surprise. And I was tracking it on NOAA.gov and all that stuff. And of course, and here it was heading straight for us. And somehow it disappeared. I mean, really disappeared. It wasn't that it came and it was mild. It just vanished. And I looked at kept watching the weather forecasts and so on. And what had happened was that I don't know what happened. It spread out and then it started raining north of us instead of over us. And then spread into a big area, which means it had broken up completely. But this is absolutely unique in my understanding or knowledge. And well, I'm a lucky person. That's all I can say. And I guess it's spreading. I guess.
Yeah, experience that you didn't need to live. There was nothing there that could teach you, right?
Oh,
you know already.
No. That's so sweet. I hope it's true. I hope I've
It
learned enough
is.
lessons and can pass
Have
on.
faith. It is true.
And pass on comfortably. But I have realized that there's no reason whatever to expect that my good luck will disappear when I pass, and that in the afterlife I will continue to have good luck. I have no idea where it all comes from. And yes, we've discussed luck before, and there is no such thing. But that means I must have been very good sometime in a past life, and I have no idea what it was.
So said the person who has housed a homeless person, fed that person in this lifetime.
Well, that's me. Yeah, I've done that.
Yeah. So, and then you say you don't deserve it. You say that you have good luck. I wonder.
Okay, I simply don't know why I did. Happy to continue receiving it, and it's been a long time now, way before I started looking after the homeless. Anyway, Hyacinth's got something to say.
Yes, about hurricanes. I've had a lifetime of hurricanes, and as a child, we were always very, very disappointed because we were preparing for it and we were watching it, and it was tracked and it was coming, and we were getting excited, and then it veered, and we were so disappointed as children. And so I'm used to this, where it just veers because it's doing its own thing. And so Ian passed over Jamaica, and it passed by Jamaica, it didn't hit. So again, it changed and went into Florida and did damage there. But hurricanes have a life of their own.
Yes.
Oh, I like that attitude. I got to remind everybody that Carlos Castaneda, his teacher, spoke about looking for people in clouds. And he said, you got to watch out in thunderstorms, because some of our advanced people like thunderstorms, and they go up into them to enjoy the experience. Well, it's not quite how he put it, but he said that some of our people do that actual thing, which is just wonderful and amazing, that you could sit in thunderclouds and watch lightning blasts around you and go, ha ha ha, bring it on. And you're in the cloud.
I love thunderstorms. I love them. As a matter of fact, when we had the last one was here in Texas was oh gosh, I forgot the name. It was a bad one because that one hit us, and then it went back to the coast, and it came back to us. So Ike, yeah, and it was beautiful. Yeah, sorry, it was not a good one, but the nature, how it was beautiful. Sorry, Lynn.
Just I've known a few people who are tornado
Chasers.
Yes. They actually go, and you know how violent tornadoes are.
Oh, yeah.
They actually go and chase tornadoes. One of my sons wanted me to get involved to do that. I said, I think I'll pass on that one.
No, I don't want to do that. But as it happens, I love, how nature expresses itself. Okay, so the answer, no more hands up. So the answer to that is, so are destructive plagues physically useful despite the evils prompted by them? And the answer, yes, they sometimes change the state of a region, but the good that results from them is often enjoyed by future generations. Yeah, as we face plagues and natural events or something like this, is very interesting because we have the chance to see the worst and the best from humankind, right? So we see amazing good things from the volunteers and people that just work. They just don't stop thinking about helping people, but also we see terrible attitudes and behaviors, right? That's how we are. 740, could such calamities also be a moral trial for human beings, forcing them to suffer the hardest struggles? Comments on that?
The only thing I can think of is that when these calamities happen, then people are very touched and moved to go in and help the survivors.
Yeah, agree. So as the answer says, they are trials that provide them with the opportunity to exercise their intelligence, showing their patience and submission to God's will, and displaying their self-sacrifice. There is disinterestedness and love for their neighbor if they are not dominated by selfishness. That's exactly what Hyacinth said. Art, please.
I think one reason that these things happen is to show people that they are stronger than they think they are, that they can overcome some of these disasters that happen in their lives.
I agree with you, to show that they are stronger and to show that whatever they are facing is not that bad, right? We still can deal with more. I guess it resets us. It puts us looking at the right perspective, I guess. Giles.
I'm not so sure that one has to overcome the challenge. The point is to meet it. And if you can meet it with love and strength in your heart, then whatever happens actually doesn't matter. You can get squashed by a lava stream, but as long as you stand there waving your fist at the lava saying, I don't care, I'm ready to go, or whatever might be appropriate for the situation, then that's meeting the challenge. I'm not so sure there's a score kept here. The score is, of course, kept in the size of your spirit. It's my understanding that incarnations increase the size of your spirit, and while you can increase the size of your spirit in the afterlife, the challenges are negligible, even if you do all the social work you can think of. But the real challenges are when you incarnate, even if it's a soft incarnation on an alien planet that has a real civilization, unlike this one. there are plenty of those apparently, so that one can incarnate and not have such a violent set of choices produced. Anyway, sorry, I go on.
Giles, you don't think that this civilization is real?
Of course, I think it's real. It's just not a civilization, is it?
It
Where
is.
we have billionaires and poor and children starving
No,
and no medical care. That's not a
It
civilization.
is a civilization.
Well, okay, yes, all right, it
Yeah.
is. That's what the word means, but I take it in a
Yeah,
slightly
try.
higher meaning than we have on this one, and hopefully we will achieve. But like people say, don't hold your breath, because it's a couple of centuries away, if not 10.
Yeah, we are trying, and
Yeah.
we'll get there eventually.
Yeah,
We'll get
actually, I have noticed in my 40 years in the United States, I have noticed a change in the way people behave.
there. Okay.
And I'm referring particularly to racism because I'm in the South. And before that, I lived in Spain, and I noticed a change for 20 or 30 years, and I noticed a way they changed during that time. So these were very positive things. It wasn't
This is-
racism in Spain. It was physical disabilities and
Yeah.
physical size, and that it changed, and I saw it change, just like I've seen change in America in the years that I've been here. So long may it continue.
Yeah. So it is a path. It is a long process for us to learn. So first of all, we need to recognize what is wrong. Until we don't see what is wrong, nothing is going to happen. So once we recognize something wrong is happening, then we start the process of creating laws and educate people how to follow those laws. And that is a long process. And then the third stage, we don't need those laws. We just know what is wrong. So in the past, we used to kill the neighbors just because the neighbor didn't say good morning to you. So, and then we realize, okay, it's not nice taking somebody else's life just because I don't like that person. There is a law. So then we learn how to we learn how to write the law, and we learn how to follow the law. And today we don't even think about it. It's not something that at least I don't want to say everybody, but most of us, that is a thought that doesn't cross our mind, right? So, Giles.
There's a thought that crosses my mind, and the thought is that in a single incarnation, it is very difficult for a human to change his or her character. And my proof of that is that we have a story called A Christmas Carol, written by Charles Dickens, that is told every Christmas. And it's the same story told every Christmas. They make movies of it, slightly different accent, but it's always the same theme, that a miser and an unpleasant person changes his character to a generous person and a kind person. And this is why would we listen to this story every year? Well, my answer to that is that it's my opinion that it is most unusual for humans to change in their lifetime. And it's so unusual that when Charles Dickens wrote that story, everybody went, and tears of joy came, he changed. And every year the same thing.
With
Now,
the help of the spirits, right, Giles?
well, of course. Well, yes,
Yes.
of course. It's always with the spirit guides helping in the background, but they can only advise. They cannot force. Now, the reason I say this is because when we expect our rulers to change, then I said, don't hold your breath, because they have to get old and die, and a new generation comes in which has different attitudes, and then they have to get old and die, and a new generation comes in and they have different attitudes. And that's how progress happens. It doesn't happen through individuals changing during a single lifetime. or at least that's my understanding.
Oh,
Tell
changes
me why,
happen
Hyacinth, why that Christmas carol is put on every year around Christmas in 1,000 languages.
because it's Christmas and it's
No,
a
don't be
Christmas.
silly. It's
It's a
because it's a
Chris-
wonderful
It's
story.
yes, but it's a Christmas story.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is Paul, the apostle, who changed in a lifetime also, right? I see.
Yeah. Yeah. Let
But
me,
it's unusual. It's unusual.
yeah. And the spirits, they say that actually what it is expected from us is not like a 180-degree type of change. Sometimes it's something so minimum, and we just don't see it. Sometimes we are too busy with our lives, or too lazy to change, too lazy to observe from and learn from each other's experience. But sometimes, yeah, all that is expected from us is just a little bit of change, perhaps not a complete one, but something, some improvement. Len.
Yeah, many times the motivation for this change is the individual is frightened and scared into it, as opposed to coming to the realization of just to do the right thing.
Exactly.
Common decency, common compassion, love, just to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And always I think about that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, the Christmas movie you're talking about with Jimmy Stewart. And at the end, he always did good. And Clarence, the angel, got his wings because he actually helped him. If you remember that story. But it should be, they should do it on their own. But many times they get frightened into doing it as
Exactly.
Christmas Carol.
Yeah. Yeah. And one day, we'll know for sure that we learned our lessons well when we don't need to be frightened. We don't need any laws. We don't need anything. But inside, in our thinking process, we know what is right and what is not right. Hyacinth.
Yes, Giles, you know the story of the Grinch. That's my favorite. That's another Christmas one.
Mr. Grinch.
Does everybody know that?
I'm not entirely sure the Grinch changed character, or did he?
Oh, he did.
Oh, he
His
did.
I
heart-
love
Okay.
it too.
His heart grew several sizes.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I used to have a boss that his nickname, he never knew, but his nickname was Mr. Grinch. And I'll tell you what, he did change his behavior. He did change his mannerism little by little, but he did improve.
Yeah,
Mr.
well, we
Grinch.
don't expect a spectacular change like happens in the Christmas Carol to that miser.
But let me.
A
Go ahead.
change is a change, and for the better, and you noticed it. So that is very good. But then you're a psychic.
Let me tell you something. One of the changes you mentioned, the prejudice, Giles, and the racism, and another change that I just thought about this week was in the past, I remember when I was a little kid, nobody was really taking care or good care of animals. So I remember growing up and seeing, stray dogs or stray
Oh, yes. Let me
cats
interrupt. That's the change I saw in Spain. You've reminded me.
Yeah.
They treated animals dreadfully when I got there, and I would have to turn away because it was a third world country. And 30 years later, when some wretch was beating his donkey, the passers-by would shake their fist and say, "Don't you do that."
Don't exactly. Yeah. So it's amazing change. It's a very good one. So this week, I thought about that because this week, I think it was Tuesday afternoon, my company promoted this. It was a VTO, we call VTO volunteer time opportunity. So the companies actually today, not only they allow you to volunteer, but they allow you to volunteer during business hours. And what we did this Tuesday afternoon, we went to the SPCA here in the city, and we were walking dogs. And evidently, as we were walking dogs, you know, those dogs out there for adoption, it's so common to fall in love with one of them and adopt one of them. Happened to me. I did adopt one of the dogs, but this is something that I was thinking, wow, this is different, because I don't remember this happening when I was a little kid. So we are improving. We don't know. We don't think. It's not that we don't know. We don't think about that because we got so used to the idea. But yeah, we are improving. Art.
Yeah, in the Christmas story, it was spirit influence that caused the change.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And this is not a story.
Oh, how disappointing, how disappointing. I thought it was him. Oh, all these years I've been fooled. And he was pushed. I didn't know that. That's no good.
It's like us. We have a little push as well. Yeah. Okay, so next question. What time? 7:41. Do human beings have the power to avert the terrors that now afflict them? Do human beings have the power to avert the terrors that now afflict them? Giles, you have a different version. So
Okay,
how is
no.
the question in your
the
version?
question is, is it in man's power to avert the scourges that now afflict him? Well, who's man, I would ask in this case, because we're in 800 different countries, and which one are we talking about? And the scourges that afflict man? No, the whole point of an incarnation is that the scourges do afflict us, because then we can react to the challenges. Sorry, that would be the short answer to that one.
Thank
No,
you.
it's human beings, not
Yeah,
man.
not man only. Yeah.
In whichever country the
And if
affliction
women
starts.
were the politicians, then we'd have a civilization and it would be fine. Sorry, it's Gloria's turn.
Yes, it would be much easier.
Gloria.
The pandemic is an example. We're developing vaccines that will help future generations, and AIDS was a prior example where, and now monkeypox and all kinds of things, where we can avert that being an overwhelming terror by doing research and changing the future.
Yeah. Agree. Thank you. Len.
Yeah, through free will, we can avoid calamities. Am I going to live in Tornado Alley in the panhandle of Oklahoma? No. Am I going to live in Florida areas where or Texas, in areas where you're going to get slammed with a hurricane within every 5 years? No. If you have your various AIDS, monkeypox, those are sexual behavior procedures. You can avoid those things. So there is certain specific calamities you can avoid. With the pandemic, there's vaccinations, you can take infection control protocols, you don't have to be in crowds, except there was an awful lot of, yes, you can with free will avert certain specific calamities. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you. Leda?
Spirits say that when karma hits you and finds you working for the good of others, then it will give you time to do your job and come back later with your debts lessened. So it's not that you avoid it, but you will pay in another way. So if you did bad things and you're a doctor and you help people, heal people, then maybe you are supposed to lose an arm and you lose just a hand or a finger, maybe, because all the good that you do counts to your karma.
What is that?
That's the yellow thing is lighting up around you, Anna, so it must have come from your direction.
Okay. Is it better now? Okay. I did not know it was a radio thing.
It's gone already. Yeah, let's hope it was a psychic attempt to get through and tell us the lottery numbers.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Linda. I agree with you. Yeah. Sometimes and that reminded me the movie about Divaldo Franco's life, when he answered that the bad things that he has done in a past life, he rather preferred to pay with love as opposed to pay with suffering, right? So, okay.
Well,
so
I'm not sure that choice is offered to all.
Well, yeah.
Atonement takes different forms for, well, okay, it's the famous statement, one size does not fit all, and the spirit realms have got everything imaginable and many, many more things that we cannot imagine.
Yeah.
And let's remind everybody that we only know what 5% of the matter in the universe is made of. The other 95% is a big mystery.
We have no idea. Yeah, exactly. But the payment with love is for those who truly understand what love means. So that's why it doesn't.
Well, that means they have empathy and they understand how bad that they've been bad boys or girls. For that statement to be true, the person must have empathy. Mm-hmm. Now we can think of a number of people that are sitting in the lower realms that don't have empathy and didn't have it, and you bet they're still in the lower realms.
That's what we are doing here, learning how to have that empathy.
I wanted to visit, but now I don't want to visit anymore. Even with some very heavy people at my left and right, I don't want to see it.
All right. So, Lynn, I think you had your hand raised.
No, I'm good. I pretty much, I'm good.
Okay. So, Giles, you were the last one. Would you please read the answer for us?
Okay. I wanted Len to talk about his alien experiences, because this is something that Kardec didn't talk about at all. And I've been reading Stephen Greer lately, which no doubt you've heard of. And if you haven't, it's high time you did, because it's amazing. Anyway, I'm sorry. Do human beings have the power to avert the terrors that now afflict them? Some of them, but not as commonly believed. Many of those plagues are consequence of their lack of foresight. Surprise, surprise. Therefore, as we acquire knowledge and experience, they are able to avert them. They can prevent their occurrence once when they have determined their cause. Consequently, among the misfortunes that plague humanity, there are some of a general nature that are imposed by God's plans, ho ho, and the effect of which is felt more or less by each individual. Human beings can do nothing but accept God's will, and yet they often aggravate their own pain and suffering due to their negligence. Destructive calamities with natural causes which are independent of human activities include epidemics, famines, weather, food, and events that destroy the fruits of the earth. Human beings have used science to discover methods for achieving agricultural improvements. And the means of offsetting or at least mitigating many of these disasters. Are many countries today not protected from the terrible calamities that once devastated them? Imagine what people could accomplish for their physical well-being when they learn to leverage all the resources of their intelligence, and when they add a true sense of charity for the whole human race to their concern for their own self-preservation. Oh, that's depressing.
No, not depressing. And I guess it goes exactly along with what Lan was mentioning, you know.
Well, this was written at the height of the British Empire, when they had half the world subjugated through force and were busy stealing everything left, right, and center and impoverishing nations all over. So this is, anyway, things have changed, luckily for the much better.
Yeah.
Sorry, I keep going on.
Thank you, Giles. Art.
Yeah, I question this idea of God's will. I thought he gave us free will. So what is this business?
Well, God's will, let me tell you what is God's will. God's will is for us, as our creator, is for us to be happy. But before we do so, we have to learn how to make that happen. So I guess that's the whole point, is how to learn and make that happen. Hi, Saint. Oh, you're on mute. Hi, Saint. We cannot hear you.
I had mute. Yes, the thing is that God has his will. I mean, he created us, and and he wants the best for us, but we're a learning curve. And he can't force you. You got a choice. And that's the free will, that we make the choice, and that's our will.
Yep. Thank you, Hyacinth. All right, folks. So 4:18. I guess I'm gonna stop for now. And
well, can you stop sharing screen so we can see everybody?
Yes, let me stop sharing and let me stop.
Hi.